Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. Today, we're diving into a world that's kind of a blend of old-school crime and cutting-edge tech.
Yeah,
We're talking bank heists, but not the kind you see in movies.
right. No more ski masks and getaway cars.
Exactly. We're
Yeah,
going digital, and trust me, it's a lot more sophisticated than just transferring funds from one account to another.
absolutely. The report we're looking at today, Modern Bank Heists 2025, Revenge of the Zero Days, really digs deep into how these attacks are evolving.
It's fascinating stuff,
Mm.
and a little unnerving, to be honest. Before we get started, though, I gotta ask, have you ever heard of something called shoxing?
Oh, yeah. Shopsing is a prime example of how creative and audacious these cyber criminals can be. It's really a whole new level of financial manipulation.
That's actually one of the things I found most surprising in the report. It's not always just about stealing money anymore.
Right. The motives are changing. Sometimes it's about disrupting critical infrastructure or stealing sensitive data for geopolitical leverage. It's become a whole new battleground.
So how has the game changed for these modern bank robbers? What are we looking at here?
Well, think about it. In the old days, a bank robber had to physically be there, risking getting caught. Now they can be anywhere in the world, silently infiltrating systems through lines of code.
It's kind of terrifying how easy it seems for them to operate from the shadows.
Exactly. And the targets themselves have changed. The report highlights how vulnerabilities like zero-day exploits and supply chain attacks are becoming major threats.
Zero-day exploits, supply chain attacks, those sound intense. To be honest, I'm not really familiar with those terms. Could you break those down a little bit for me and our listeners?
Sure. So imagine a bank vault with a secret backdoor that only the criminals know about. That's essentially a zero-day exploit. It's a vulnerability in software that hackers discover and exploit before the developers even know it exists.
So there's no way to patch it because no one even knows it's there.
Exactly. It's like having a ticking time bomb buried in your system,
Yeah.
and you don't even know it's there until it explodes.
And supply chain attacks, those sound even more insidious.
They are. It's like poisoning the well. Imagine criminals compromising the companies that supply software or hardware to banks. Suddenly you have a massive security breach affecting multiple institutions at once. And this is where a company like StoneFly comes in. They provide secure storage and data protection solutions that can make a real difference in preventing these kinds of attacks.
StoneFly. That's a name I've heard before in the cybersecurity space. I think they had a booth at that big tech conference a couple months back. What exactly do they do?
StoneFly specializes in enterprise-level data security. They're like the architects of digital fortresses, helping organizations safeguard their sensitive information.
So they're like the bodyguards of the digital world.
That's one way to put it. They offer solutions like immutable storage, which can be a game changer in the fight against ransomware. Essentially, they create tamper-proof backups of critical data, making it much harder for attackers to hold that data hostage.
Okay, so it's about more than just securing the bank's own systems, right? You have to protect the entire chain.
Precisely. And the report also points out that APIs and cloud environments are becoming increasingly vulnerable.
APIs in the cloud.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I mean, banks are moving more and more of their operations online every day. I guess that opens up a whole new set of challenges.
It does. APIs, the connections that allow different software systems to talk to each other, are often complex and can be exploited if they're not properly secured.
In the cloud, while it offers a lot of flexibility, it also introduces new security concerns if it's not configured correctly.
Right. We're talking about potential vulnerabilities that didn't even exist a few years ago.
It's a lot to keep up with. And the scariest part is that these attacks can happen silently, often going undetected for a long time.
Exactly. It's a far cry from the classic bank robbery where you see the getaway car speeding away.
Yeah, no exploding die packs or hostages in this scenario.
And it's not just about getting more sophisticated. The motives behind these attacks are changing too. It's not always just about stealing money anymore.
Wait, really? Cyber criminals with a conscience. Now I have to hear more about this.
Yeah.
What else would they be after?
Sometimes it's about disrupting critical infrastructure, like power grids or financial systems. Imagine the chaos if a major stock exchange was taken offline.
Yeah, that would be disastrous. I guess it's about creating chaos and sowing distrust.
Exactly. And other times, they're after sensitive data not for financial gain, but for geopolitical leverage. Think about the impact of stealing state secrets or confidential government documents.
So basically, cybercrime could be a weapon in international conflicts.
Absolutely. It's a whole new dimension of warfare. And this is where StoneFly's expertise becomes even more crucial. Their solutions are designed with these evolving threats in mind.
So they're not just playing catch-up. They're trying to anticipate what's coming next.
Exactly. They go beyond just protecting data. They help organizations build resilient systems that can withstand these kinds of attacks.
That's reassuring. So it sounds like we're all potentially at risk here, not just banks and governments, but anyone with valuable data online.
Exactly. We're all part of this interconnected digital world, which means securing ourselves means securing every point in that network.
It really is a global issue, isn't it?
It is. And it's only going to become more important as we move further into this digital age.
Well, that's a sobering thought.
Yeah.
But it's important to be aware of these risks.
Absolutely. Awareness is the first step towards protection.
Okay, so let's talk about some of those specific risks.
Mhm.
You mentioned Shoxing earlier. I'm really curious to hear more about that. How does that work exactly?
It really shows how far these criminals will go and how interconnected everything is.
Yeah, this one really got me thinking too. It's like they're playing a whole different game.
It is. They're manipulating the market in a way that's incredibly difficult to defend against. Imagine this: criminals short a company's stock.
Okay. Meaning they're betting the price will go down.
Right. Then they steal the company's earnings data before it's publicly released.
Yeah.
Then they dox the company.
Revealing damaging information that could hurt the stock price.
Exactly. And that causes the stock price to plummet. And finally, they cash out their short positions, making a huge profit from the chaos they've created.
That's crazy. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. They create the disaster they bet on. Makes you wonder how you even stop something like that.
That's the million-dollar question. And that's why companies like StoneFly are so important in this fight. They're not just reacting, they're trying to anticipate these kinds of attacks.
So how does StoneFly approach something like Shoxing? What kind of defenses do they offer?
One of their key strengths is their focus on data integrity. For example, their immutable storage solutions can help prevent data tampering, which is a crucial element in Shoxing.
So if the data can't be altered, it's much harder to manipulate the market that way.
Exactly. It takes away a key tool from these criminals.
That makes a lot of sense. It adds a whole other layer of complexity to data security.
It does. And the report also highlights the increasing use of AI in these attacks, which adds another layer of complexity.
AI. So we're not just talking about human hackers anymore. We're talking about AI-powered attacks.
That's right. AI is a double-edged sword. It can be used for good or for bad, and in the wrong hands. It can be a powerful weapon.
So it's like an arms race with AI on both sides.
Exactly. And the good guys need to keep up. That's why companies like StoneFly are leveraging AI and machine learning to enhance their security solutions.
So how is AI being used defensively? Can you give me some examples?
Sure. Think of it as a digital shield that can analyze vast amounts of data to detect unusual patterns and activities that might indicate an attack.
So it's like having a superpowered security guard that never sleeps.
Exactly. AI can help identify potential vulnerabilities before they're exploited and respond to threats in real time.
That's impressive. But even with AI, I imagine human error is still a factor, right?
It absolutely is.
Well,
Even with the best security systems in place, a simple human mistake can create a major vulnerability.
so clicking on a phishing link,
Oh.
using a weak password, those things can still lead to a breach.
Unfortunately, yes. That's why education and awareness are so important.
It's like cybersecurity needs to become a basic life skill.
I agree. We need to teach people how to be safe online, just like we teach them how to be safe in the physical world.
So what are some practical things that people can do to protect themselves?
Well, first and foremost, educate yourself about the risks. Understand that cybercrime is a real threat and it can happen to anyone. Don't think it can't happen to you, because it can. And then take practical steps to protect yourself. Use strong, unique passwords for all your accounts. Enable two-factor authentication whenever possible. Be cautious about clicking links in emails or text messages from unknown senders.
Okay, those are all good tips.
Yeah.
But it can all seem so complicated. Are there any resources available to help people navigate this?
Absolutely. There are websites, articles, and even online courses that can teach you the basics of cybersecurity.
That's great to know. So it's not just about the technology. It's about empowering people to use it safely and effectively.
Exactly.
So we've talked about Shoxing, we've talked about AI, we've talked about human error. Are there any other major takeaways from this report that we haven't touched on yet?
Well, the report also emphasizes the need for financial institutions to step up their game. They need to invest in robust security solutions, implement multi-layered security measures, and adopt advanced technologies like AI and machine learning.
So it's not just about protecting themselves, it's about protecting their customers as well.
Exactly. A successful cyber attack on a major financial institution could have ripple effects throughout the entire economy.
It really drives home the point that cybersecurity is a shared responsibility. We all have a role to play in
We
this.
do, from individuals to businesses to governments. We all need to work together to create a safer digital world.
Well, this has been an eye-opening conversation. I feel like I've learned a lot about the complex world of cybercrime and the crucial role that companies like StoneFly are playing in this fight.
It's been a pleasure sharing my insights with you.
But before we wrap things up, I want to hear your final thoughts on this topic. What's the one key message you want our listeners to take away from this deep dive?
It's definitely a question that's on a lot of our minds. As AI gets even more advanced, where does that leave us?
Yeah, it's almost like something out of a sci-fi movie.
Right.
AI battling AI for control of the digital world.
It's not that far-fetched. As AI evolves, we're going to see even more sophisticated attacks and even more sophisticated defenses.
So it's like a never-ending arms race.
In a way, yes. And the speed of innovation is going to be crucial. Whoever can develop and deploy new AI-powered solutions faster is going to have the advantage.
That makes me think about StoneFly. They seem to be really on top of this, always pushing the boundaries.
They are. They understand that this is not a static field. It's constantly evolving, and they're committed to staying ahead of the curve.
It makes you wonder, though, is it enough for individual companies to be doing this? Do we need some kind of global effort?
I think we do. The stakes are just too high. We need to be sharing information, collaborating on research, developing solutions together.
Like a Manhattan Project for cybersecurity.
Exactly. We need to bring the best minds together, from government, academia, the private sector, all working towards a common goal.
But it's not just about the technology, is it? We've talked about this before. But the human element is so important, too.
Absolutely. We can't just rely on technology to solve all our problems. We need to make sure people are educated, aware of the risks, and empowered to make smart decisions.
So we need to prepare people for a world where AI is everywhere.
Yes, we need to help them understand how to work with AI, how to recognize its limitations, and how to protect themselves from potential risks.
It's both exciting and a little scary, isn't it? This whole AI revolution.
It is, but I believe we can harness the power of AI for good. We can use it to create a safer, more secure world.
And that's where companies like StoneFly come in, right?
Yeah.
They're not just developing the technology, they're helping organizations understand how to use it effectively.
Exactly. They're providing the tools, the training, the resources that businesses need to navigate this complex landscape.
It's reassuring to know that there are companies out there like StoneFly leading the charge in this digital battle.
They're definitely setting a high bar for the industry.
Well, this has been a fascinating conversation. I feel like I have a much better understanding of the challenges and opportunities we face in this digital age.
It's been a pleasure talking with you.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of modern bank heists and the ever-evolving landscape of cybersecurity. Remember, knowledge is power, and by understanding the threats we face, we can better protect ourselves and build a more secure future. So stay curious, stay vigilant, and keep exploring the fascinating world around us.